The more you try to control life, the more you lose it. There's something most people never realize. The most exhausted people in the world are usually the ones trying to control everything. Control the future. Control relationships. Control money. Control other people's opinions. Control time. Control outcomes. And maybe without realizing it, you're doing exactly that right now. You overthink, you analyze everything, you worry constantly. And even when nothing is happening, your mind keeps racing, as if it's always waiting for the next problem, the next failure, the next disappointment. And you know what's worse? The harder you try to avoid suffering, the more anxious you become. Because life has a cruel paradox. The things you try to hold on to too tightly start slipping through your fingers. Relationships, opportunities, peace, happiness, even your own energy. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that can completely change the way you live. You have power over your mind, not outside events, but most people live the exact opposite way. They try to control everything around them, while their own mind is completely out of control, and that's why they feel exhausted, anxious, irritated, mentally overwhelmed. Today, you're going to understand why trying to control everything is destroying your peace, and why the strongest people are usually the calmest ones, because there's a huge difference between acting with purpose and living in desperation. And once you understand that difference, your life changes. Your mind is tired because it never rests. The problem isn't only what's happening in your life. The problem is that your mind never shuts off. You're taking a shower but thinking about the future, trying to sleep but replaying old conversations, working but imagining everything going wrong. Your body is in one place, your mind is somewhere else, and slowly that destroys your energy. Most people today live in a constant state of alertness, as if something bad is always about to happen. And the scariest part is that many people don't even notice it anymore. They think it's normal to live tense, normal to live worried, normal to wake up already exhausted, but it's not normal, it's an overloaded mind. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Think about that. How many times have you suffered because of something that never even happened? How many nights have you lost creating negative scenarios in your head? How many times has your mind turned small situations into disasters? That's the problem with excessive control. You try to predict everything, avoid everything, guarantee everything, but life will never be completely predictable. And the harder you fight that truth, the more anxiety you create. Imagine someone waiting for a text message. At first, everything feels fine, but minutes pass, then hours, and suddenly the mind starts talking. Did I say something wrong? Did they lose interest? Am I being ignored? Now notice something. Nothing actually happened, but emotionally that person is already suffering because the mind created a reality that may not even exist. That's how many people live. Prisoners of their own thoughts. And the worst part, they think they're being rational. Desperation makes you lose your strength. There's something people notice immediately, even without words. Desperation you can feel when someone is emotionally dependent, when someone desperately needs approval, attention, validation, and that pushes people away because desperation creates pressure. You can see this clearly in relationships. The more someone tries to force connection, the more suffocating they become. They text too much, need instant replies, overanalyze every detail, turn silence into rejection, and without realizing it, they begin destroying the relationship itself. Now compare that to someone emotionally stable, someone who shows interest but doesn't depend on another person to feel complete. That person radiates calmness, security, confidence, and naturally that becomes attractive. But this doesn't only happen in love. It happens in every area of life. People who are desperate for money start making terrible decisions. They panic, accept anything, lose clarity. People desperate for success constantly compare themselves to others. They feel behind, like failures, like they're not enough. And because of that, they stop building something solid because they're obsessed with looking successful as fast as possible. Desperation makes you act without presence, without emotional intelligence, without clarity. Epictetus taught that when your happiness depends completely on something external, you become a slave to it. And that's true. If your peace depends on other people's approval, then criticism controls you. If your happiness depends on one specific outcome, failure destroys you. If your self-worth depends on attention, silence hurts you. Do you see the danger? You hand your emotional state over to the world, and the world is unstable. You don't need to control everything to have value. Many people spend their entire lives trying to prove their worth, trying to prove they're intelligent, important, desired, successful, strong. And that's exhausting, because when your self-esteem constantly depends on external validation, you never truly rest. You always feel like you need to do more, show more, impress more. But there's something interesting about truly secure people. They are not constantly trying to convince everyone of their value. They simply live with calmness, with authenticity, without turning every moment into a performance. Today, many people no longer live. They perform on social media, in relationships, at work. Everything became image. Everything became appearance, but appearance cannot sustain peace. You can look strong on the outside while falling apart inside. You can look successful while feeling empty. You can look happy while being emotionally exhausted. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Stop arguing about what a good man should be. Just be one." That quote is powerful because it destroys the constant need to appear as something. People spend more energy trying to look confident than actually building confidence. More energy trying to look happy than creating a peaceful life. More energy trying to impress than truly evolving. And that creates emptiness, because living for approval is never fully satisfying. There will always be someone richer, more attractive, more successful, more recognized. If your peace depends on comparison, you will never have peace. Never. Life starts changing when you stop resisting it. A huge part of human suffering comes from resistance. People resist the present, resist change, resist endings, resist reality itself. They want everything to happen exactly the way they imagined, at the exact time they imagined, with the exact people they imagined. But life rarely works that way, and the harder you resist, the more you suffer. Imagine trying to control the ocean. It would be impossible. Yet emotionally, that's exactly what many people try to do. They try to control every behavior, every outcome, every detail, and end up living in constant tension. The Stoics understood something powerful. Acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is emotional intelligence. Accepting reality doesn't mean giving up. It means stopping the fight against things you cannot change. There's a huge difference between healthy effort and obsession. You can work hard without destroying your mind. You can love someone without losing your identity. You can pursue success without turning it into desperation. But to do that, you must learn how to let go. And that's one of the hardest things for human beings, because letting go requires trust. Trust that you'll be okay, even when you can't control everything. And many people never develop that trust. That's why they live in constant fear. Fear of losing, fear of failure, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, and constant fear destroys your ability to enjoy life. Because people who spend their lives trying to avoid suffering never truly relax. Silence reveals who you really are. There's a reason so many people fear silence. Silence reveals things, hidden insecurities, suppressed anxiety, emotional emptiness, thoughts that distractions usually hide. That's why so many people need constant stimulation, videos, music, social media, conversations, notifications, anything to avoid being alone with their own mind. But here's the problem. People who cannot sit alone with themselves will never be truly free because they constantly depend on external distractions to escape their internal reality. The Stoics deeply valued solitude because silence is where you begin understanding your own mind, and at first that can feel uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable, because you begin noticing how many negative thoughts you carry, how many fears control you, how many insecurities live inside you. But that awareness matters because you cannot change what you never observe. Most people spend their entire lives distracted. They never stop long enough to truly look inward, and then they reach their 40s, 50s, 60s completely disconnected from themselves, living on autopilot, following routines, meeting expectations, but without real inner peace. And the most ironic part, many of those people spent decades trying to build a perfect external life while completely neglecting their inner world. The strongest people are not the most aggressive. Society created a false image of strength. Many people think being strong means dominating everything, controlling everything, never showing emotion, never failing. But real strength is usually quiet. It's the ability to remain calm while everyone else panics. It's thinking clearly while others react emotionally. It's refusing to let small things destroy your peace. Today, people get offended by everything. Every criticism feels like a personal attack. Every frustration becomes a crisis. Every discomfort feels unbearable. And that happens because emotionally, people became fragile, too dependent on external things. But the Stoics believed true freedom begins when you stop being controlled by every passing emotion. That doesn't mean becoming cold. It means developing emotional stability. Imagine two people facing the exact same problem. One panics, complains, blames the world. The other breathes, analyzes, adapts, keeps moving forward. The difference is not the problem. The difference is the mind. And that's why some people can go through incredibly difficult situations without completely losing themselves. While others collapse under the smallest pressure, their minds were trained differently. You're carrying things you should have let go of long ago. Many people are exhausted not because of the present, but because of the emotional weight they carry from the past, old relationships, old mistakes, guilt, shame, resentment, regret. And all of that occupies mental space, mental energy. It's like trying to run while carrying heavy stones. You keep moving, but everything feels heavier. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." But human beings usually do the opposite. They become attached to everything. People, expectations, old versions of themselves, and then they suffer whenever life changes. But life always changes. Always nothing stays the same forever, and fighting against that reality only creates more suffering. Maybe part of your anxiety exists because you're still trying to control things that already ended, or trying to prevent inevitable change. But emotional maturity is understanding that not everything was meant to last forever. Not people, not seasons of life, not even old versions of yourself. And that's okay, because sometimes suffering doesn't come from loss itself. It comes from resisting the loss. At the end of the day, most people are not only exhausted from life, they're exhausted from their own mind, exhausted from overthinking, over-controlling, over-worrying, and maybe what you need is not more control. Maybe you need more release, more trust, more breathing room. Because the truth is, you will never have total control over life. But you can develop something much more powerful. Control over yourself, over your emotions, over your reactions, over your mind. And when that happens, everything changes. Problems still exist, but they stop controlling you. Difficulties still come, but they stop destroying your peace. People still enter and leave your life, but you stop losing your identity because of it. That is real strength, not controlling the world, but refusing to let the world control you. So stop trying to hold everything so tightly. Stop living in constant tension. Stop placing your peace in external things. Do your part, give your best effort, and then let go. Because sometimes the thing destroying your peace is not life itself. It's your obsessive need to control it. And if this video spoke to you, subscribe to the channel. Because here the goal is not just to motivate you for a few minutes, it's to help you build a stronger mind for life.